Now, before I start, let me say that I'm not saying the publishers shouldn't care about profit, because they obviously should. But what I've been starting to question is whether their standard for success is getting unsustainable. And this is something I've been thinking about since the start of the ninth generation and the switch from $60 games to $70 AAA games, which in turn has increased the expectations for every AA and AAA game. But to me, it feels unsustainable if the critically acclaimed new IPs that I'm about to discuss struggle to earn a second chance. And even one of the industry's most consistent studios can lose half its workforce after delivering another well-received and well-reviewed mainline title in one of the most influential franchises. I think an environment where success has to be absolutely extraordinary and a smash hit home run success every single time is mainly the problem, because that's an almost impossible standard to hold most studios to, but it's the standard that every non-independent studio has been held to. In my eyes, the main contributors to this problem is Xbox and PlayStation, but since I've already talked at length about my issues with PlayStation, I figured I'd keep it balanced and do one aimed at Xbox this time. The examples I'm going to use in this video paint a clear picture why everyone nowadays thinks everything has to be either indie or like these big ass gargantuan $200 million plus games to succeed. And you can't really sit in the AA space anymore if you want to succeed or stay afloat. So first we're going to start with former Xbox, now Krafton owned studio Tango Gameworks. I'm sure many of you are already familiar with this situation because it's one of the best examples of a big studio wanting massive success on new IPs day one. But just to set the scene, let's briefly talk about their previous games with The Evil Within and Ghostwire Tokyo. So The Evil Within was rumored to have sold pretty well for a AA game, but despite the critical acclaim and fan praise of the second game, it seems to have sold significantly less. At least it's rumored to have sold far less than the first game. Neither Bethesda or Microsoft has revealed the sales numbers for any of Tango Gameworks games, but fans really love the Evil Within games. I actually really enjoyed the first game when I played it in 2020 during the quarantine, and although I haven't gotten around to playing the second game, the first one is right up there with Resident Evil 2 Remake as one of the best survival horror games I've ever played. Like, it's so dreary and the dark and like creepy immersive soundtrack. Damn, just talking about it, I kind of want to go back and play it again. Now, I should probably play the second game now since the third game's nowhere in sight. But anyways, I digress. Now, Ghostwire Tokyo also seems to have pretty similar numbers based off of estimated analytics. Again, these numbers might not be very accurate, but they're probably within the realm of the sales figures for these games. And honestly, I don't think the Xbox could care less about the difference between 500,000 and 1 million copies if the games they have post mild sales overall. The one thing that all of these games have in common is the praise from both critics and fans alike, which, if you know anything about gamers and critics nowadays, is almost an impossible feat. And it seems like they were able to do that with just really damn solid AA games. Not earth-shattering success like Xbox wants every game to be, but like moderate successes with the potential for a lot more in the future with increased budget and scope. But now we get to the dark commentary with their latest game, Hi-Fi Rush. You gotta say it like that because it literally makes no sense why Tango was closed down after releasing this game. I don't think it ever will. So first off, I gotta say, it seems like the executive leadership and marketing heads at Xbox might have split personalities when it comes to their thoughts on Hi-Fi Rush. Because sometimes it was an unexpected success, other times it seems like it didn't quite meet their expectations, and now we know where the truth actually lies since they actually just canned the studio. And on top of that, Xbox's restructuring of their business following the acquisition of Activision Blizzard meant that many of their smaller, less blockbuster studios like Tango Gameworks and Arcane Austin, who still made pretty good AA games, they were shut down or saw significant losses to gain profitability elsewhere. Now, thankfully, a lot of the devs behind Tango Gameworks and Arcane Austin have found homes elsewhere. As a matter of fact, in my video breaking down Clockwork Revolution, I found that much of the talent from Arcane Austin went to inXile. Also, again, Tango Gameworks was acquired by Krafton after being canned by Xbox. So yeah, thankfully, at least for this example, the teams didn't get completely wiped off the map after making multiple successful IPs and titles. Going from mostly horror-like games in The Evil Within to a very colorful, artistic, chill vibe in Hi-Fi Rush is a massive switch up not many devs can pull off and do successfully. But of course, these bigger publishers like Xbox can't see the forest for the trees, and they think so short term to staunch the bleeding of Xbox. That's their own fault, like it's not their devs' fault, and they just either shutter or merge their teams into other studios, or they shut them down entirely. It's yet another case of like long-term potential almost being completely squashed by incompetent leadership that's so focused on letting other people suffer for their mistakes. And like I already said, we can't even be sure about where Xbox sat with Hi-Fi Rush in particular because they were constantly talking out of both sides of their mouths every time they brought it up. According to their marketing vice president Aaron Greenberg, Xbox was happy with how Hi-Fi Rush performed in quote unquote all key measurements, whatever the hell that means. It just sounds like a whole load of bullshit if you ask me. Like, you can see what people think about his statement right here in his tweet. And it's examples like this why you start to understand why gamers don't listen to the media and marketing of these larger corporations. Because if something is as successful, or I guess rather, if it surpasses your expectations for it, why the hell would you shut that studio down as part of your restructuring? Wouldn't they be the studio that you're restructuring around? Like, I think that these executives still don't understand that words actually do matter. If a game exceeds your expectations, closing the studio behind it sends a very different message to the players. You can't just spew high praise and acknowledgement for a breakout success and then immediately shuttle the team behind it, not even 4 months later. If Xbox was just honest about being unhappy with the performance and sales of the new IP, just say that. They're still going to get hate from people like me who understand that new IPs can take a bit of time to get going. I even criticize Sony for this with the way they've handled Studio Ben and Days Gone. For example, with Days Gone selling pretty good on the tail end of about 3 years, Sony's bright idea of fostering successful new IPs is greenlighting a, air quotes, remaster, but then shutting down a Days Gone sequel that could have cranked the horde system and intensity and camp system that made that game so much fun. But then Horizon gets like 5 spin-offs, a live service game that not a single soul in this planet asks for, not even Horizon fans want it, and they get like just unlimited budget, the budget to just do whatever the hell they want to. So they won't escape criticism for it, but at least they'll have been honest about their expectations. So the next time a game is a media and player hit but not commercially successful, we'll understand and immediately go like, well, at least we got to play that because we're probably not going to get a sequel to this that expands on the first game, or a third game that blows everyone's mind, right? Like with The Witcher 3 or like with Baldur's Gate 3. You think that Larian and CDPR just dropped these games out of nowhere without growing pains in their previous games? But again, the support and leadership in these independent studios often outweighs the impatience from investors of these larger corporations, and they've ended up producing some of the best games that we've ever seen after having mild successes in AA games before their blockbuster hits. And I just feel like Xbox and PlayStation, something like that is a thing of the past for them, since they're so focused on like the short-term gain and they started to lie about their expectations for brand new IPs. Now, the second example I have is id Software, which is a much more fascinating situation. I could find a world where I could understand and even come to rationalize the closure of Tango Gameworks if you give me enough time to play devil's advocate. I think I could make a reasonable argument of like maybe a controversial argument for that. I can't do that for id Software. Like I can't. I'm sorry, the studio behind Doom, the game that's defined FPS games since the early 90s, also the team that made me fall in love with sci-fi as a kid and Quake, and also just to round out their roster with Wolfenstein and the Rage franchises, which I've not played, but people, they seem to like those games somewhat. You're telling me that team, with storied franchises that sell pretty well, get obliterated by layoffs, over half the studio according to LinkedIn. I have no words. Like, that's like if Larian, after Baldur's Gate 3's success, if they dropped half their staff before making Divinity 3. Not only do they make excellent games that sell pretty well, but they also have incredible technology with their engine. You know what? As a matter of fact, I have a much better example now that I think about it. It would be like if Nexon gutted half of Embark after the success of Arc Raiders. And the reason that's more relevant is because Embark was originally a tech studio and they evolved their tools over time with AI and machine learning for their games. So if you could imagine a situation like that where half of Embark staff was fired, and how ridiculous that would sound, that goes doubly for a team that helped define genres and has maintained multiple successful IPs. At this point, I mean, dude, like nobody's safe. Maybe besides Activision and Bethesda for obvious reasons. All I gotta say is like, what's it gonna take? Like if you're a dev at one of these Microsoft studios, the lessons you learned are like, well, we can make a really good to even great games, get pretty good reviews across the board from both critics and fans, build impressive tech or be extremely versatile, have excellent project management, I mean immaculate project management, releasing 3 games in the span it takes most studios to release 1 game, and you still might get shut down. Can someone explain to me how that's going to inspire confidence in the remaining staff at any of these emaciated studios that already knows they have the Grim Reaper hanging over them and they might get canned in the next few months? How are you supposed to try your ass off and put in the extra effort to produce something that you're proud of? I don't think it's possible. I think that that's devastating as hell to morale. I've seen this too many times, and I've been through something similar myself to know that this won't end well for the other teams to know that their time is about to come. Also, I think something like this scares off the best talent and even upcoming talent in the industry. Why would I want to go work for you and have that stain on my resume with canceled games and closed studios if I could just go to any one of these newer, hungrier studios or these rising giant independent studios. The inability from Xbox and also PlayStation to see the people under stress about if they'll have a job tomorrow or not don't do their best work, which leads to underwhelming games, which leads to a further decline in game quality and dev morale. It's astonishing to me because it just makes common sense. It's like with all this AI craze and boom as of the last 5 years, that they forgot that people are the ones that are still making these games. You still can't make just a fully non-human touch game. No matter how many roles you cut and replace with AI, people will still have to put their hands on these games because video games at the end of the day are still a form of art. And no one has ever said artists perform best under pressure. I don't know, it sounds cool on a t-shirt, but in reality, it's very harmful to the product that they're meant to make. And if you're worrying if you'll have a job tomorrow, even after doing everything right and succeeding, I think it just sets the worst precedent. If you want a strong portfolio, whatever other excuse, they always use these terms, strong portfolio, restructuring. It's just a little BS. But yeah, that's all I got to talk about. It's just, again, it's fascinating. Like, I could imagine going back and working in an environment where the state of the company is up in limbo, but management was singing our praises and telling us all was above board, but we knew it was total BS because of situations elsewhere in the company. Like I said, I've experienced something similar in the past, and although it was brief, that instability was very stressful on me. So I can only imagine how it feels to work for companies like Xbox and PlayStation, where that's just a given. If you're not one of these untouchable studios like Naughty Dog or Bethesda, those studios, they make boatloads of money and they're not getting touched. But honestly, like, who knows? Like, as we've seen, just being successful and making really solid games with good or even great reception isn't even enough anymore. So, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised by nothing at this point. But yeah, anyways, that's it for me. I'll see you next time.